Welcome to Innovate and Conversate, where we discuss the latest innovations and trends in the business world. I'm your host, Jana, and today we're going to be talking about smart buildings that are reshaping the future of real estate. With me today is Mr. Mubarik. He's the IT director of Distinguished Real Estate, who brings a unique perspective when it comes to technology and real estate. Welcome, Mr. Mubarak, to the show.
Thank you, Yana. Very nice to be here.
So smart buildings are the next logical step when it comes to this digital era that we're living in, right? So what really drove their need? Was it sustainability? Was it tenant demand? Or was it something else?
Very good question. Thanks, Yana. So firstly, very nice to be here. Thanks for inviting me. I think it's a very important requirement. All of the areas you mentioned before are drivers. Buildings consume a huge amount of energy in the world. There's various stats: 20%, 30% upwards of global energy consumption is coming from buildings, and the carbon emissions also. You're talking about 25% of the world's carbon emissions coming from buildings. So it's a very, very important topic and subject to address in this current day and age. And yes, all of the areas, in terms of sustainability, in terms of tenant experience, they all contribute as to why it's such an important topic and an important area to be focused on in this day and age.
So some argue that smart buildings aren't necessarily, smart. So how would you define an intelligent building versus just high tech?
So I think when we say smart, we are also looking at an area where it's offering real world solutions to your issues. So if it's areas of energy efficiency, is the building becoming energy efficient? Is it monitoring HVAC systems, utilities? Is it giving you advice on preventative measures? Is it actually talking and communicating to other systems? So if it encompasses all those areas and it's providing a real world benefit to you as well, then yes, I would consider that a smart building.
Okay, and if buildings, they don't just exist in isolation, they're part of a community and a specific culture. So how can smart buildings be tailored to fit the specific needs of this community that they're in?
So buildings should be adapted to the environment that they're in. So we're in the Middle East. It's very hot. The climate here, we require the buildings to be cooled. We require them to be maintained well. It's not like other parts of the world in summer where you can sustain if you lose things like your HVAC systems and your cooling systems. Here, there is an actual risk to the person themselves. So it's very important that we have real-time visibility on the buildings, and not just most of the property management companies, they're monitoring multiple buildings, not just one. So you want to have a global view on your whole portfolio. And it doesn't matter if that portfolio is in the city you're in or if it's spread across the country. If you have a holistic view, you get a heat map and you get a kind of a control center view of what's happening across your whole portfolio. And I think that's very important as well.
And smart buildings collect data so that they can optimize their operations. But how can we ensure the right balance between collecting the right information and still maintaining the privacy of the tenants?
So there needs to be transparency. I think it's important to understand what it is that we're collecting. But one thing that is very important in this day and age is security. Privacy of data and the security of the infrastructure and the devices and the data itself, to make sure that it is not being compromised, it is not being leaked, it is secure, the transmission is secure. So I think cybersecurity plays a very important aspect as well, and the controls and measures you have around that and your systems as well.
And if we want to talk about the human element, how can we make sure that we're not losing this human touch, especially like you mentioned, all of this technology is now in, but how are we not losing this human touch? Like, what's one way you've seen the smart buildings directly affect the lives of a tenant?
So It's very nice if we have solutions in the Middle East where it's hot, where people don't have to worry about AC breaking down in temperatures which can exceed 40 to 50 degrees Celsius. So people want that kind of lifestyle. They want predictive maintenance. They want preventative maintenance. They want predictive analytics. They want systems to be operating without breakdowns or the damage that can happen from burst water pipes or utilities that you might not be aware of until a substantial damage has happened to a building. So I think there are substantial benefits to have technology in here. I think that it's only enhancing the customer experience. You can tailor buildings and ambience and the comfort factor to individuals. So it's only enhancing that experience. And I think that as we develop and we grow, the kind of human machine interface is going to get more tightly integrated and more personalized.
And the wow features that smart buildings have, how can we make sure that they're not just exciting features, they're actually making an impact to the tenants and the building itself?
So if you implement smart building solutions and suddenly the tenants' energy consumption bills go down, that has a direct financial impact on the tenancy or company. If they're managing multiple buildings, the savings can be substantial. You're talking large savings in terms of energy. And that also impacts the wider society as well. So if your carbon footprint is being reduced, then you're benefiting the society, the country that you're in. And as I mentioned, in the UAE, in Dubai, that we are, the place we're in, energy consumption, utility, energy, resource consumption these are very important topics. They're scarce, things like water, so we don't want water pipes being burst and not being aware of them, and water being lost in this kind of environment. You want to preserve natural resources as best you can. So I think it's all of these areas I think offer a real benefit. It's not just a buzzword. There's an actual tangible benefit as to what you're doing it. And even things like preventive maintenance. You're not sending FM crews on site into buildings every day just to check things. We can take preventative actions. We can go there when there is an issue. We don't need to just consume energy and time and resources of people just going to buildings because they don't know the status of what's happening with those buildings.
Amazing. And if we want to talk about old properties, how feasible is it to retrofit old properties with smart systems versus just building smart from the ground up?
I think it's very practical. I think it's a very good thing to do. It's something that is happening now where buildings are being retrofitted with devices that will integrate with all the buildings' BMS systems, and they will provide control center views of all these buildings. So absolutely there's benefit to it, and it is something that is happening and is the way. Smart building technology has not been around that long in real terms. Some of these buildings have been there decades, or many years. And smart building technology has not been around that long. So generally, you will be looking to retrofit older buildings because even the technology was not, yes, newer buildings, you can put it in the planning stages. But the older buildings, there was no such thing, or there were no such solutions. Or there weren't the same level of solutions, IoT-based solutions and smart building solutions that they are today. So yes, it's very good to retrofit older buildings.
And how do you see smart buildings contributing to larger urban goals such as mobility or sustainability?
Absolutely, I think they do contribute. I mean, we are talking about buildings that have huge impacts on the efficiency and energy usage and consumption and resource utilization of cities. So yes, I think that contributing to creating more energy efficient buildings is important. Having buildings that communicate with the wider smart cities, I think that's very important because there's a lot of smart services that will be running in communities and in cities, and that will only grow. That it's only ever growing in terms of. And we'll see how far this develops. Autonomous vehicles, systems for waste collection and recycling, and drones. There's a lot of smart services that are planned to be deployed in cities. So smart buildings, it will also integrate into that whole ecosystem.
And we hear a lot about AI when it comes to smart buildings. So what role does AI play when it comes to making a building truly intelligent?
So this is an interesting area because AI is accelerating at an exponential rate at the moment. And yes, we are currently looking at how the analytics and the preventative maintenance is helping reduce consumption of energy or unnecessary visits or preventing unnecessary or breakdowns of systems or equipment in buildings. So yes, going forward, yes, I think it will just become more automated. It will offer deeper insights as to what's happening with buildings, and maybe it will start to, interestingly, you could actually remediate issues as we go along. Solutions can be put in place that will actually remediate the issues, and it will become more intelligent in how it collaborates and communicates with other systems as well. So it will be interesting to see how it develops going forward.
Looking into the future, which trend or technology do you see reshaping the meaning of smart buildings?
So AI, as you've mentioned, has played a great role. I think IoT continues to offer more connectivity to buildings and systems and insights. 5G onwards, you're looking at a greater transmission of speeds of data and real-time sort of visibility, or support if you need sort of augmented reality or virtual reality views of buildings, and then from that you have digital twins to have sort of digital replicas of your building. So I think all of these technologies working together will enhance this area, and it is an exciting area. I mean, it's something, we all live in buildings. Our sort of digital footprint, it is expanding. Our requirements, our sort of what we consider the norm now, and our standards are increasing. So it's a case of you always looking to develop the best product, the best building, and what makes you, the leader in your industry when you deliver a solution. A lot of people are building buildings now. A lot of people are building. So, how does your particular building stand out from other competitors in the market? What makes you special? What makes you the go-to developer that people want to buy from? And also, how are you contributing to the wider goals of and to the benefit of the country or the societies that you're in as well?
So the future sounds very promising for real estate.
Absolutely. And that's all I've seen. I've just seen everybody accelerating and competing with each other, but in a good way. You're seeing such advancements and fantastic sort of innovations in smart buildings that are happening. And I think that's a good thing. Competition to progress people and progress technology and progress solutions in the market, for me, is always a positive thing.
Definitely. Thank you so much for today. This brings us to the end of the podcast. It's been a fascinating discussion.
Thank you very much, Yana. Very nice to be here. And thanks. Enjoy the meeting and the discussion myself. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you to our listeners for tuning in. We'd love to hear back from you on which topics you would like for us to discuss next. Until next time, stay innovative and keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible.